Tabi Tarot. Welcome back to another book chat. Today, I actually want to share with you my esoteric book collection. But now, before you all get very excited, I need to just tell you that my esoteric book collection is very, very small. I used to have a huge esoteric book collection, massive amounts of books, 50 books on tarot, 20 books on the afterlife, 100 books on souls. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but my esoteric book collection was, I probably had about 150 books. So it was quite a big collection in anybody's estimate. But I whittled it down because what I did was I realized I don't need 25 books or 30 books on tarot. I don't need 12 books on dream interpretation. I don't need 18 books on Wicker. So what I've done is I've actually condensed that into a very, very small amount of books. But I do want to share these with you, and I can tell you these are excluding the couple of religious books that I've got. That I will do a completely separate video on. So these are just mainly my esoteric books. Okay, and I'm just going to start with a book that was printed in 1921. This is a 1921 edition. It's called The Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Okay, and it really is a beautiful little book. The Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam was, you can see there. Okay, it's a small book of poetry that was written by this man. Now, the funny thing is they don't even know if Omar Khayyam was a real person or if these were just handed down verbally. But anyway, I'm very happy with this book. I paid virtually nothing for this book. And it is, when I looked it up on the internet, it is actually this version with the greeny blue leather-bound cover and the gold inlay. This was actually printed in 1921. This is a 1921 version, so I'm very blessed to have this. And I picked it up at the SPCA, or RSPCA, you guys call it, Animal Welfare Shop, and I think I paid like $5 for it. So this is an absolute gem in my collection. So that's the first book I have. I then have a very interesting book called The Voice of the Silence, and this is a book by Madame Blavatsky. If you know anything about Spiritism, you know about Madame Blavatsky. If you don't, please go and look her up, because if you are into anything esoteric, you will have to know who this person is. All right. And this is a nice little book. It's very dense and very weird. It's about the 7 portals, and it's got fragments of mysticism and all kinds of stuff in it. And this particular version doesn't tell me when it was printed, but it is a reproduction of the 1889 original edition. That is what it says there. So I got this also at the SPCA, and I think I also paid like 4 or 5 rand for it, $4 or $5 for it. So this is another really interesting, it's a very strange book, small book, but it's really weird. Okay, definitely worth trying to find a copy. If you can just get one online, it's definitely worth a read. Then, of course, I have my faithful old Pamela Bell, 10,000 Dreams Interpreted. I'm sure every single person has got one of these in their collection. It is they say here 1 million copies sold, but I'm sure there's more than that by now, because I got this about 5 years ago, maybe even longer, maybe 10 years ago. It's a lovely dream interpretation book. It's very dense. It's got pretty much every dream you can think of, every archetype in dreams that you can think of in this book, and it's quite a hefty little tome. I love this book. I use it all the time. It's something that we actually have fun with, my fiance and I, because every time we have a dream or something we can't really figure it out, haul this book out, and dear old Pamela Bell, she explains everything. So very, very nice book. Okay, cheapy, buy it online. Then, of course, I have this. It's The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. Now, this particular book is very, very special to me, and I'll show you why. When I was at high school, does this have? Yes, it does. This book was given to me as a prize. It was awarded to me as a prize for getting like the best English mark or something like that. And that was in 1986. You can see there, 1986. There we go. Matthijs de Beer. That's how you pronounce my real name, Matthijs de Beer. And there it is, 1986. And I love The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. It's one of those classics you can read and reread. You dip into it for like a paragraph or read like a whole chapter. It's a lovely book. It's one of the most famous Khalil Gibran books, and I think it's well worth having in your collection. It's not a religious book. It's just a very clever and very thought-provoking book. So there we go. One of my older books, 1986. Then, of course, I have done videos on these two books. I'm going to show you the first one is the Afterlife Bible by Sarah Bartlett. These are quite hefty, but they're quite square. You can see they're kind of square. I love Sarah Bartlett's books because they are super, super dense with stuff, but they're really easy to read. And they got these really cool pictures. She's got a whole range of these. She's got the tarot, the afterlife, crystals, all kinds. In fact, she's got like 4 different crystal books. These are super. And if you want to know anything about the afterlife, this is the only book you would need, the Afterlife Bible, okay? And it's just a lovely freaking book. It's got gorgeous photographs in it, and it's just a really cool book to have. So that is by Sarah Bartlett, the Afterlife Bible. I actually read this. It's another one of those dip into books. You can't read the whole thing. It doesn't read like that. It's a dip into it book, okay? Also by Sarah Bartlett, I've got the Tarot Bible, and I've actually done a whole review on this. If you look back into my sort of past videos, you'll see I did a whole review on this. Again, it's a lovely book. If you want to learn about tarot, you don't need any other book but this. This will teach you the ultra basics of tarot, and it will actually give you, even if you're like a seasoned tarot card reader, this is a book that will spark a lot of interesting ideas in your head if you read this. This is literally the only tarot book you will ever need. It's freaking awesome. So that's the other one I've got. Then I've got two very strange little books. They're like little pamphlets almost. And these books I got in Bali. They are printed on this amazing paper, okay? This first one is The Culture and Legends of Bali. And it's very, very interesting. It has amazing little drawings like this. And what I liked about this book, look at those drawings. They're like woodcut things printed. What I loved about this book is that when I bought it, I was actually, these are all hand-typed and handmade. These little books are handmade. And I was actually supporting a children's charity in Bali that they sell these in aid of 100% of the money goes to a children's fund in Bali. So there's this one, The Culture and Legends of Bali, which is very, very interesting. And then this is the most incredible book. It's the traditional horoscope of Bali, and this is super complicated. You can see, if you can see that. I mean, it is like a super complicated way of looking at natal charts and birth charts and frickin' you name it. There's numerology and it's minute. It's a pamphlet almost. But anyway, I love these two books. They are just wonderful. And as I say, I didn't pay a lot for them, and I was supporting a charity, so I was very happy with those. Okay. Oh gosh, my books are all falling around here. Okay, the next book I've got is the South African book. This is the 3rd edition, and it's Crystals and Gemstones. If you are into collecting basic gemstones and crystals, and you're not going to be collecting 5 million of them, this is a very sweet little book. I don't know if you can get it overseas. It is a South African book, and it sells. Everybody who's into crystals kind of buy this. Okay, it's very simple. It gives you a actual picture of the stone or the gemstone, and then it tells you exactly what it's good to use for and all that sort of thing, the healing properties, the astral properties, all that kind of stuff. And this is a really nice book. I got this when I was doing crystal healing and when I was collecting a lot of crystals, and this really came in very helpful. It was very helpful and very handy. Okay, so there's that. The next book I'm going to show you, and some people tell me that this book is not in print anymore, and yet I can find it online. It is by Raymond Buckland, and it's called Buckland's Book of Saxon Witchcraft. And I have not had a problem finding this book, and it was quite cheap. It wasn't very expensive. It's an incredibly dense book. It's got all kinds of. If you want to become a witch, you need to really have this book. It's an amazing book as far as Wicker goes. It's very deep, and there are all kinds of things There's like music notes connected to stuff, and there are runes. I'll show you. There's like different Wiccan alphabets and all kinds of stuff in this book. It's an amazing book. And I've been told by a lot of people, oh, you're so lucky to have that because it's out of print. And you can get it on the internet. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put just this book. I'm going to put a link down below so you guys can actually go and find it, okay? Because it's very easy to find. So I don't know why people are saying, you can't get it. Anyway, it's a great book. Then I have this. It's kind of similar to the Sarah Bartlett books in that it's published by the same people, the Healing Handbooks collection. And it's a really fun, everyday living Wicca, and it just gives you the absolute tops of Wicca, how you can incorporate Wicca into your everyday life, And again, it's very much one of those books. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those books with the pictures and then the little blurbs, and another one of those dip into books, you know. But I love this book, and it's another one of the Wiccan books that I've kept. So the only Wiccan book I've got is this, and then this Saxon Wicker. Those are the only two Wicca books I have. Because you don't need a bookshelf full of books on Wicca. Wicca is Wicca, you know. And they are slightly different because this gives you the basics. I mean, this is more about witchcraft and the actual casting of the circle and the actual this and the actual that. This is really, really deep. Whereas this is kind of like if you want to know a little bit about Wicca, get this one. Okay, so those are my two Wicca books. Then I have a lovely book here. It's a Muslim book, and it is the Book of Love. And it's very similar to the Rubaiyat in that, I mean, it's gorgeous. Look at that cover. It's just exquisite. And it is by, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Muhammad ibn Yahya al-Ninawi. I don't know if you can read that. I don't know if I'm holding it up properly. Anyway, it is, doesn't matter who wrote this. It's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. And it's one of those books. Take a moment to just read one of those things every day. And it's all about love. Okay. So it's one of those, again, dip into it, one little saying per night, all right? And then you kind of think about it. It's a gorgeous book. It's so well, beautifully covered. Again, very cheap, El Cheapy, at one of the Muslim fairs that I went to. Gorgeous, gorgeous book. Okay. Oh, here's another Wicca book. I've got three. I forgot. This is so cool. This is such a cute little book. It's by Julia Stayson, and it's the Wicca spell book. It's the ultimate Wiccan's book on magic and witches. It's not the ultimate book, but it's cute. This again, the reason I kept this is it explains a lot of stuff. Like it explains shamanism. It explains paganism and neo-paganism. It explains the different traditions in witchcraft and in Wicca. It's a really cool book. And you know what I love about it? It's got one of those covers that feel like they're made out of like leather. This feels like pleather. It's like a weird thing. I love the cover. But this is a book, it's well worth getting. It's a cutesy book. I like it. I've read it about 3 times. This is like a really basic book. So it's not the ultimate book, but it's a good book to get. And it's by Julia Stayson. Okay, so Wicca spell book. There we go. So I have 3 books. I didn't know. Okay, then I'll leave these 2 for last. I've got I paid next to nothing for this. This is by Richard Cavendish, and it is the big hardcover tarot book. I don't know if you can see that whole thing. Okay, and this is very much a coffee table book. It's one of those books. It gives like the history, a blow by blow history of every single thing ever to be associated with tarot. But this is more a history book. It does have like meanings of the cards, but this is very much a coffee table book that you would, if you're bored, you would perhaps look it up, or if you're waiting for tea, or if you're in the dentist's office, you'd pick this up and read it. It's very, very dense, but it is a history of tarot. It's not a book that's going to teach you how to read tarot, and that's why I've kept it. Then my last 2 books, that's all I've got. The first one is the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It is edited by John Baldock. It's a beautiful version. It's you can see that it's actually embossed, and it's kind of like that is like punched into the cover, and it is literally the entire Book of the Dead. But again, it's done in this fashion where you get the picture, and then you get the Book of the Dead. It's basically, I would say it's about 80% the original Book of the Dead. It has been edited, but just look at this. I mean, it's just absolutely stunning book. And yes, I actually have read it, and it is fucking difficult. Anybody who has actually read the Tibetan book, this is not the Egyptian Book of the Dead, this is the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Anyone who's actually read that, honestly, I take my hat off to you, because this is a seriously intense book. It's really, really difficult to read. So if anyone has read this, well done to you. I've read it once. I will never ever read it again. It is just way too difficult, but I love the book, and I will of course keep it because I treasure it. And then my final book is a really cool book. It's called Gothic Dreams, the Necronomicon. It's a dark fantasy digital art of H.P. Lovecraft, and it's by Sammy Main. And it's it's kind of set up as if it is the Necronomicon, but it's obviously not. It is explaining, using digital art, it kind of tries to explain what the Necronomicon was all about and why H.P. Lovecraft created this imaginary book, because it doesn't exist, people. Stop looking for it. There is no real Necronomicon. And I know a lot of you are going to be like, oh, you're talking shit, but seriously, people have been looking for the Necronomicon for years. It doesn't exist, it's not real. But this book explains everything that, it explains how H.P. Lovecraft came up with the idea and why he came up with the idea and what it's all about. So this is a lovely book. The digital art in this book is phenomenal. It's brilliant. So that is by Sammy May, and it's called Gothic Dreams, the Necronomicon. Okay, and believe it or not, that's my entire collection. I don't have any other books. I don't need any other books. I have everything that I want right here. Books on spirits, books on crystals, books on tarot, wonderful afterlife books, fantastic books that I can quote out of and just read and think about. There it is. I don't need shelves and shelves and shelves up there. What you should do is go through your collection and perhaps do the same thing. I always say, if you can cull a collection of books that you're not going to read or cards you're not going to use, give them in to people, pass them on to people who will use them, who will read them. Okay. I hope you've enjoyed that. It's been a bit of a long video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm Matt from Tubby Tarot, and I will see you on the flip side.